Hello, my name is Marlene Byrne with the League of Women Voters of Portland, and you are watching Video Voters Guide. We are in the studios of MetroEast to talk with the candidates running for the November 2018 general election. We have invited all the candidates to file for this race. There are many reasons during busy campaign season for candidates accepting and rejecting their appearance. With me today is Tom Harrison, running for U.S. Senate Representative in the 3rd District, who was able to accept our invitation. We are sorry that one of our candidates in this race, Earl Blumenauer, has been unable to accept our invitation. We urge voters to visit the League of Women Voters of Oregon website and use the League's vote411.org site for comprehensive coverage where candidates may also choose to include their own information, some including their own YouTube videos. And now my first question. Criminal justice reform has had bipartisan support, yet Congress has not been able to pass any substantive legislation. What aspects of criminal justice reform would you support?
It's the first time that question's been posed to me. I am a strong believer in proper criminal punishment for crimes presented. I do not have a desire to see people released early. Biggest among that, I think, is the issue with immigration and illegal aliens is the legal term in the country, that in those situations, releasing instead of incarcerating and then after a conviction, removal from the country seems more appropriate. There are a lot of things that are being done to try and reduce the prison population, but in doing so, releasing violent criminals particularly early, below their recommended sentencing times, is a bad idea. I'm actually part of a PAC to have truth in sentencing, to not allow the judges to reduce sentences below a point where it's punitive. So as far as Congress and federal crimes, I don't see that the system that is in place now is in need of much reform. So I'm happy with the way it is at the moment.
Thank you very much. And our next question, what is your opinion about the current administration's decision to pull out of the Paris Agreement on climate change, and what it would be your
My position?
Your position on climate change, and how would it
Well, now I have to switch hats.
Congress's legislative
and I'll switch hats because in college my two main areas of concern were mathematics, where I got my degree, and physics. So I took every physics course I could possibly get into my schedule. So I am trained as a physicist, and I am on the skeptic side. The Paris Agreement not only was bad abuse of science, but it also was an agreement that only sought to get countries to do what they wanted to do, and it had no real substantive effect on the amount of CO2 released. But I'll go farther. I've done the numbers myself. I don't need to depend on somebody else's view of what the climate situation is. It is not possible for CO2 to generate the kind of crisis that some on what you'd term the alarmist side believe. My own calculations say if we doubled CO2, we'd get about 0.6 degrees at the end of the century. That's in line with others, but those are my own calculations. So the Paris Accord was meaningless.
And that's it?
That's
okay,
it.
Thank you. And if elected, what will be your top priorities during the next session of Congress to help Oregonians?
Well, same as would be for national consumption. The two issues that I see most important now in this state, as well, particularly in Oregon, is the abuse of immigration. My formation of governance goes from the development of natural rights, beginning with one person alone on an island. One person alone can do whatever he likes. Two people better come to an agreement or they'll end up killing each other. Governance proceeding from that point is all designed around things that are inherent in us. We have rights as an individual. You have a right to live, so do I. We have a right to our own property, and we expect government to protect those. In fact, that's what the Declaration says. Governments are instituted among men to preserve the rights that we have that are inherent in us, or as it calls it, endowed by our Creator. But rights that are part of us as human beings. So when I look at our rights for property, for example, and our rights to be alive, we have a right to lock our door. Simple enough. Transferring that to what government should do for all of us, we have a right to set law and agreement about who we'll let into this country and when, and expect the government to protect that, just as you expect the police to answer if someone breaks into your house. So when I look at the southern border particularly, where many people are crossing the border unlawfully, I find that a terrible menace. And I find that Oregon's sanctuary position and Multnomah County's sanctuary position are in essence a obstruction of justice. So from a federal point of view, I want to see an end to that. I want to see our laws respected. We are a compassionate country. We're letting 1 million people a year illegally. Now, we all seem to be a careful country. We should know who we're letting in. And that's the simplest way to deal with it. It's the same way you deal with people coming to your door and knocking on your door. It's just now for the border for all of us instead of for you individually. So individual rights translate into what rights government has to act. We have a right to secure our border. We should secure the border. We should continue to be compassionate, but we have to do so on terms where we know who's coming in and when. So our police force is ICE. That's an appropriate thing. It is inappropriate for Multnomah County and for the state in total to engage in this obstruction. The sanctuary law in Oregon was written after a knee-jerk reaction to a bad stop where a U.S. citizen was falsely accused and had his papers checked. 10 years later, the young man who was the attorney got to be a Democrat legislator, and with very little opposition, it was an almost unanimous vote, got sanctuary law in place. But that was a different time. We had amnesty in place. Everything was going to be fine. No more illegal immigration. It was all going to be well. And that's when the law was produced. It is grossly out of character for the state now to do so.
Okay. Well, thank you. And this has been the Video Voter's Guide. And thank you for watching. And the general election is Tuesday, November 6th. Be sure to inform yourself about the candidates and the ballot measures and exercise your right to vote.